I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car.
Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for 2000's The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, which is directed by Des McGanoff. It was released in 2000, nearly about 40 years or... Let's see... Yeah, nearly around 40 or 30 years after the show's cancellation. And it was pretty much one of the last few live-action hybrid films based off a cartoon series that I found actually good. The plot is, well, this one actually takes place after the show's cancellation, so this is one that actually still acknowledges the show's existence and still is faithful to the tone of the show. Our two TV heroes have been living off the finances of their reruns on TV, and worse, Rocky has lost his ability to fly, and the trees in their area have been all cut down if frostbite falls. Meanwhile, back in Pennsylvania, their arch enemies, fearless leader Boris and Natasha, played by Robert De Niro, Jason Alexander, and Renee Russo, have pretty much... Their Iron Curtain is now fallen, so the villains have left their area, and they dig through a tunnel to go to a Hollywood producer. They make her sign a contract, they give her the rights to produce the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie, but that puts the three villains out of TV, and they become humans, they become their De Niro, Alexander, or Russo selves. So now they have an evil plan to hypnotize America using really bad television, short-named RBTV, making everyone's minds mush, so he can go to the TV and get everyone to make him the president. Meanwhile, this FBI agent has an assignment, has to get Rocky and Bullwinkle into the real world to defeat the villains. So, they get sucked out of the TV world, they become 3D generated characters, with all America now hypnotized, and Fearless Leader's evil speech in 48 hours. Boris and Natasha even giving chase to use this computer laser to try to destroy both the moose and the squirrel. It's now Rocky and Bullwinkle and their human companion Karen Sympathy go on this hilarious adventure to New York by plane, car truck, hoofer, flying squirrel, or to stop Fearless Leader of the state of America. Originally, Bullwinkle's trying to go to Washington in a way to try to get the president to sign this letter to replant all the trees. But yeah, so how was this film made? Well, this movie This movie had been in development at Universal Pictures in 1992, and originally, Boris and Natasha were going to be played by Danny DeVito and Meryl Streep. But then the film got encountered amid lawsuits, production difficulties, and considers whether or not the film was going to stay true to the original series. Eventually, the film did continue development sometime later, and this time around, the two actors would be replaced by Jason Alexander and Renee Russo. Instead, the film was produced by Universal and, of course, Robert De Niro's production company, Tribeca Productions. Then in October 1998, it was announced that Monica Parr had been cast as the lead originally, and Robert De Niro was entered negotiations to play the role of Fearless Leader, and Des McGanoff was set to direct from Kenny Lonerman's screenplay. Then November 1998, Jason Alexander was confirmed for the cast of Boris. Then January 1999, Renee Russo was confirmed for Natasha. Then, of course, Monica Parr dropped out in February 1999 and had to be replaced by Piper Parabu. So, after the film was officially complete, the film would be released on June 30th, 2000. And when it came out in theaters, it did pretty bad at the box office. It only made $35 million worldwide against a budget of like $76 million, and it got bad reviews. There was criticisms to the writing, the plot, the humor, but the performances were praised, the visual effects were praised, and the faithfulness to the source material were praised. Now it's my reaction to the movie. This is from someone who didn't grow up with the show, wasn't too big of a fan of the show in a way. Didn't really watch it all that much. I mean, it was kind of occasionally on television retro, and some episodes I did watch, but I wasn't a big fan of the series. I didn't even watch the series around the time I had first watched this movie. I watched this film as an infant, and I had a decent time with it, and then years later, like when the show was having its airs on television retro, back when television retro was a thing, I then remembered this film, and then apparently I found out this film was actually hated by many people. Some even think it's one of the worst cartoon film adaptations out there. Revisiting the film now, I would have to disagree with that statement because, personally, I'm going to be honest here, I kind of enjoy this film. And those calling it one of the worst cartoon to film adaptations yet, I can list a lot worse. There's all those Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. There's those 2 Garfield movies. The live-action Garfield starring Bill Murray. There's the live-action Smurfs. There's Fat Albert. There's The Last Airbender. There's Dragon Ball Evolution. Those, I think, are a fuck worse than this film. There's been much worse film adaptations of cartoon shows. This, at the very least, is respectful to the source material from the episodes that I did watch. It's respectful to the source material and still acknowledge the show's existence. Hell, honestly, like, you could honestly view this as the finale. Because it kind of would feel like one. Thankfully, this is one of the few that really tries to stick to the old and not involve the characters in a non-cartoony plot. Like, the whole movie, like, you could literally call this film one entire live-action cartoon. In a way, and it actually works pretty well. Hell, there's even times when they know it's kind of a stupid plot, and the movie doesn't care if it's stupid or not. It acknowledges it's stupid, and it just goes along with it. It's a movie that really mirrors the kind of description that would be in an episode featuring these 2 characters. Like, yeah, the movie's not appreciated by many, but you can see why, like, it's one of those that I think personally just kind of stands out from much worse ones. Because, like, the film uses the goofiness of, apparently the original episodes had all the goofiness of this film, so this film does use the goofiness of those, and throughout the film, like, in a way, it is kind of somewhat similar. Rewatching it now, it's kind of similar to the plot of, it does kind of leave you, like, it's pretty much Rocky and Bullwinkle's is the 2011 Muppets. In a way, where those characters' time is gone, their show is gone, but then they made a fan of their show, to team up with them to revive their career in a way. Like, this is pretty much set after their show got canceled. It's like 35 years since then, because this came out in 2000. They got forgotten about, but then they get summoned because they're needed again because their villains have escaped TV. Has anything really changed character-wise? Not really, because our characters from the show, and even the narrator, they're all in this movie. And the screenplay between the live-action people is definitely kind of like the original cartoon as well. It's a misunderstood conversation between, like, our 2 lead characters, and the narrator says, yes, even their world play had become hand-sucked and cheap, and pretty much even Bullwinkle says it best. No, it was always like this. Honestly, Yeah, honestly, he's kind of right about that. And also, like, from the main cartoon characters with our live action characters, our main human lead, pretty much, like, yeah, pretty much, sorry. And also, like, from the main cartoon characters, our human lead, Karen Sympathy, gets the assignment to get the duo out of the cartoon world into the real world to stop their nemesis. And yeah, our main villain, like, this film was not only produced by Robert De Niro, Fearless Leader was actually also played by Robert De Niro himself. And honestly, I felt like Robert De Niro was a wise choice for the character. I don't know if any other actor could play the role well. Right here, like, I'm glad they actually, like, you could tell, apparently Robert De Niro was a big fan of the show. So, and actually even looks like he's having the time of his life playing this role. It's really nice to see Robert De Niro actually play a different kind of role that he never really played before around the time this came out. Here, and actually play a role where he actually just gets to really have fun with the role and roll in the way. And I'm glad this movie is actually produced by somebody that's actually familiar with the show. Unlike a lot of the worst ones I mentioned, like, you can tell that the people actually cared about this project. Jason Alexander, Renee Russo, they played Boris and Natasha, and they too mimic their cartoon characters fairly well. Apparently, Jason Alexander regretted playing in this film, which is kind of a shame, but, well. Like, you even have some cameos, too. Like, that were definitely nice to see some cameos. Like, you got James Bebborn, and Randy Quaid, who both actually co-starred in Independence Day together. So you got two Independence Day actors cameoing this film. You also got Billy Crystal and John Goodman actually playing this cop in one bit. So you got two actors from Monsters Inc. cameoing, and two actors from Independence Day cameoing as well. And now, how does our movie begin? Well, since their show was canceled in 1964, Rocky and Bullwinkle have been living a depressing life, and their animated home is now deforested, the trees are gone, Rocky can no longer fly, and their show's unseen narrator lives with his mom now. Their enemies, on the other hand, Fearless Leader Boris and Natasha, lost power in Pennsylvania following the end of the Cold War, so they escape by tunneling all the way to Hollywood, and they trick this TV executive into signing rights to contract to their series and greenlighting a potential movie, which drags the villains out of the animated world and transforms them into their live-action selves. The villains become live-action people, but the decision to keep Rocky and Bullwinkle as cartoons once they enter the live-action world is perfect, because it would be kind of hard to make a convincing live-action talking moose and squirrel. And we all know that everyone loves to reflect on the good things when we were all kids, and being honest, like, but time moves on, and of course, the movie even acknowledges that, when eventually we do have to kind of grow out of that stuff. And the producers of this film really do the best they can with this film, given the change in time and the advent of new technologies even. And he even got some cool little puns on names, like, they're executed very well. Executed with very much flair and originality as well. And so you even have, like, some old timer references, like General Store or General Mission or General Food, like some pretty much the other FBI people's names. And you even got, like, this was around the time when the blend of animation and live action was done with some effort, like, and it feels very reminiscent of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which even at this one point this movie does get referenced here, where there was never a way to destroy a cartoon character until now. And one person mentions, what about that movie Roger Rabbit? And Fierce Leader shuts him down going, this is totally different. Yeah, like, so then it's 6 months later, and Fearless Leader and his minions have founded RBTV, as in, like, really bad television, which is a cable television network in New York City. It's programmed to control the population by brainwashing the American audiences into voting Fearless Leader as the next president of the United States. And so FBI director, who's named Cappy Von Trautmans, deploys Karen's sympathy to recruit Rocky and Bullwinkle to start RBTV's intended broadcast. So Karen goes to a movie-generating lighthouse in Los Angeles and summons Rocky, Bullwinkle, and the narrator in the real world. And upon learning of Rocky and Bullwinkle's return, though, Fearless Leader deploys Boris and Natasha to destroy them. So they're given the CDI, this laptop weapon that can trap cartoon characters within the internets, and they test it on this weasel, and it works well, and when they test their kind of little brainwashing thing, there's a pretty ironic thing where they do kind of celebrate, but the people it's being tested on don't notice because they're all brainwashed, so they're just sitting there with blank stares on their faces, and of course, and when Rocky and Bullwinkle then immediately travel to the world, they meet Karen. They think they're still on TV, and during moments like, I think we're on a different channel. Look how they drew that girl. Or when, like, security shows up to stop them, and Rocky and Bullwinkle think it's time for commercial, or, okay, commercial break. So after that, they drive on the road, but Boris and Natasha throw stuff at them, and it doesn't work, and so they have to swerve off. They lose their car, and Karen trash talks Boris, but Boris loves all the insults he's getting thrown at, and while they're distracted, and Karen lights out their cannon that's supposed to shoot at them, and escapes, and then of course escapes and steals their truck, and Natasha's what happened to explosive? And yep, so their truck is stolen. But just as they're on the road, but Rocky does not like that they stole, we're supposed to be the good guys, and so I like how Rocky's actually not willing to commit a crime and steal stuff, and of course Bullwinkle's stupidity often makes up saying two rights don't make it wrong, and whenever Rocky keeps calling him out on stupidity, that's not how it means. Or when he pronounces Washington as Washington. Yeah, but so Karen does apologize for that, but just as she apologizes, though, the police and arrest, which we get our John Goodman cameo. So then, our John Goodman cameo, and right there, and after that, so Rocky and Bullwinkle are on their own, and they walk through a desert, and the narrator won't stop narrating, and Bullwinkle even kind of calls him out, and the narrator's would you rather be narrating a story? No. Then Boris and Natasha, they're still on the road and try to continue their pursuit, but the narrator's even well, but they're in the middle of the desert, so it's not like they could find a helicopter. Oh, never mind. So, because they find a helicopter and they steal it, and the pilot's just coming out of the porta potty, and this is just great. Apparently acknowledges this happened to him 3 times, and so they fly off, and then they're just trying to reveal a map, and they rip out the map hey, you can't do that, it's cheating. So we then see Karen in prison, pretty much comes up with this plan to escape, and meets this Swedish guard named Ollie, to help her escape by pretending that they're gonna go see this matinee of this romance film, and then has him wait outside to get the tickets while she parks the truck. And then he sees the truck is gone, and then Nero's well, that's not very nice, shut up. Then while Rocky and Bullwinkle are still on the road, they get picked up by these 2 teens named Martin and Lewis that are students from Bullwinkle's alma mater was Samo Moto, and Boris and Natasha launch this plan to assassinate Bullwinkle at the campus, so they donate a check to the university in his name. They inspire the academic board to award Bullwinkle with an honorary Mooster's degree. So once Rocky and Bullwinkle get there, there's people protesting his degree. They're mad about it. And Bullwinkle's trying to address the students, but Rocky sees that Boris is trying to kill Bullwinkle, and then regains his ability to fly and is able to stop Boris from killing Bullwinkle with the CDI, causes Bullwinkle to fall off, causes Boris to fall off the whole tower, and Boris even I forgot I'm not a cartoon character anymore, and lands on a bunch of people, and this is one of those live action cartoons that which some characters are real life. There's cartoons that interact on screen at once, and like most of those hybrids. And the comedy definitely has a lot more subtle than laugh out loud lines. Like, it really does have a certain appeal. Like, so, but what could be wrong with the movie that's got, and why it caused it to get bad reviews? Well, some of the movie has a bit of a weak central story. Usually a story has to keep audience's attention, and this one didn't really, and there's kind of the lack of spacing where the audience does need some kind of mental rest from the antics, and or like, but with Bullwinkle's puns and cameos and references to other movie comments, like it still turns out to be pretty darn funny when you put your mind to it, and like it kind of feels like a film that's definitely made for the fans that grew up with the show, and Robert De Niro actually does comedy in the role he plays very well, like easily, like you can tell he's really having a time of his life playing this character, and especially considering that he also produced the movie, and you can tell like he really put effort into this film. And so after Rocky thwarts Boris and Natasha's plan to try to assassinate Bullwinkle, they then manage to win the audience's attention, and the two kids then give them their car to continue their journey. And while they're departing ways with the university people, Bullwinkle's talking to this wall there, and of course then they get the car, but they crash it into a wall, and Bullwinkle's like, I never said he could drive well, but they continue on, and Bullwinkle's driving badly, and Boris and Natasha chase them through Chicago, and they end up disintegrating their helicopter in the process when they try to disintegrate Rocky and Bullwinkle because they accidentally press it on themselves, and they fall into this mattress being sold and carried by this mattress sales guy. Then Carrie reunites with Rocky and Bullwinkle, and they wonder, how'd you escape? I got pardoned, but then the trio get arrested by numerous state troopers. So they get trialed for numerous misdemeanors, like such as plenty of like the movie kind of flaws and stuff, especially like they even reference breaking the fourth wall as a thing they're being trialed for. Of course, but then the presiding judge cameo, who is played by Whoopi Goldberg, but keep in mind, guys, like, no, like, this was from 2000, this was back when she was funny. This is back when she actually was cool. Back when she was a good actress. Before she became a whack on the View. This is back when she made good stuff, and back when she actually made people laugh. So yeah, she plays the judge cameo, trials them, but then of course immediately puts on her glasses, and then realizes it's Rocky and Bullwinkle, and immediately announces that celebrities are above the law. But at that part, though, I'm kind of like, are they really? Nah, they're not really. There's actually quite a lot of them actually have gotten arrested multiple times. Quite a lot of them have been arrested. There are celebrities that have gone to jail. Wesley Snipes went to jail for taxes. John McTiernan went to jail as well. So, like, quite a few have actually gone to jail. Celebrities are definitely not above the law. But, oh well, this is a family movie. It's not supposed to be realistic. So, their charges are dropped, and the trio buy this biplane, and they escape Boris and Natasha once again. And the two villains are like, you know what? We can't kill these two. Everything we've tried throughout our whole time, we failed. Maybe we should just not try to pursue any of this. So they lie to Fearless Leader that they defeated the two characters, and they're confident that they've won, but then the hero's plane, though, is starting to lose altitude because of the combined weight, and apparently the plane can only fit one person, so Rocky ends up flying Carrie to New York to stop the broadcast, but as they get there, Rocky's already brainwashed by the broadcast, and so they're subdued by Boris and Natasha. So Fearless Leader is now able to initiate his plan and broadcast programs to brainwash most of the country. Like the humor in this is also very funny too, because when we get back to Bullwinkle, he ends up flying over New York, but ends up in Washington instead. But he mistakes it for New York. Like, whoa, New York has changed. They even moved the White House here. thinks it's New York and thinks the White House got transported to New York and then crashed the plane in the White House field. Then when he gets there, he tries talking to the president to replant the trees, but the president is brainwashed. And then we get our cameo of Randy Quaid. Back when he was not a crazy delusional crack. Back when he was not all crazy and delusional. Long before he became all that. Randy Quaid then helps him get to RBTV to save a day through the internet. Like, even Bullwinkle even breaks the fourth wall again, referencing that. And that gives Randy Quaid's character the idea to transport him to the computer. And then pretty much there's even funny moments or whatever, the narrator's mentioning something, they manage to do a funny cheap plot hole to annoy him. When they arrive in the real world and they mistake it for a different show. Or during the times they do break the fourth wall. Or when Fearless Leader tries to say when there was no way to destroy a cartoon character and the henchman tries referencing Roger Rabbit, but then gets cut off because this is different. And the animation on Rocky and Bullwinkle is very terrific when they're in the live action world. Like, they're still their cartoon cells. Like, if this was made back in like the 2010s, they'd probably be ugly, design looking CGI atrocities. No, like, this was back when they actually put in effort, and back when they were not lazy with combining animation and live action and were willing to actually do it the right way. And or it's actually still a cartoon on their half, while live action on another bit. Yeah, this was back when they put in effort. And now we get on to the finale. Where after Bullwinkle has arrived in the White House and has met Randy Quaid's cameo, Cappy, or pretty much, and then he pretty much scans him into the White House's computer system, and then emails him to the studio, just as Fierce Leader addresses the nation, disrupting the broadcast in time, and a chaotic fight breaks out, and Elisa captures the villains. So Karen, Rocky, and Bullwinkle then pretty much ask the American public to replant Frostbite Falls, and to vote for whoever they want. And so everyone's freed from their brainwashing, and Bullwinkle accidentally activates the CDI before it can be disposed of. So the villains get turned back to their animated forms, and they get banished to the internet for good. So they're defeated. So then, to end it all off, Rocky and Bullwinkle's careers get renewed at RBTV, which gets changed from really bad to Rocky and Bullwinkle, and even Bullwinkle points out, what's the difference? Because there is no difference. It's still called RBTV regardless. So there really is no difference. And then Karen finally goes on her date with Ollie. As Rocky, Bullwinkle, and the area get transported back home to a revived Frostbite Falls. And Bullwinkle puts a picture of them with the president into his photo book. And they go out and he sends Rocky flying, forming the words, "The End." That's how it ends. And I guess you could say that's how the show pretty much as a whole ends, because this movie underperformed bad, so we never got a revival after this. So I guess that's how the show ends. If you did watch this after the show, that is. Now, I like the film, but would I have bad qualities with the movie? Like, yeah, I can admit that. There are some times when the narrator guy does kind of need to shut up. Like, there's certain bits where I just kind of want to hear the scenes and not have to hear the narrator talking over them constantly. Like, there's times I wish the narrator would kind of shut up. There's times when Bullwinkle's stupidity kind of does get a bit overplayed a little too much. And I think, like, there's definitely one cringy scene where the villains is them doing this stupid dance when they're first seen at RBTV. That I will admit wasn't really needed. And, like, another thing, like, it's kind of a film that's kind of meant more for the older fans of the show that kind of grew up with it during the time it aired, so you can kind of see why this didn't do well when it released, because a lot of 90s people weren't familiar with the show, and in a way, and So a lot of people didn't really know what it was. It was rerun, but quite a few people then didn't grow up with it. So because it was just rerun, there weren't new episodes. It was canceled. And so a lot of kids in that world, and kind of like that time, wouldn't have really got much of what the show was, or knew much of what the show was, or would have really got this film. Other than those, yeah, I know many people hate this movie, but I don't care what anybody says. I think it's pretty underrated gem, and I think it's a pretty fun guilty pleasure that does kind of require a lot of brain turn off to be able to enjoy. So in the end, I definitely own this movie on my shelf because it's a humorous good time of a watch on my TV. I wish more cartoon adapted live action films tried to have a tone like this movie did, because this movie is actually pretty respectful to the show it's based off of. So honestly, my opinion, I think it's a worth buying. Anyways guys, that's it for my review of Rocky and Bullwinkle from 2000. If we're anything to rate the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, here's how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you were a fan of this show, then you will get a pretty faithful adaptation of it with this movie. That's really just a turn-off brain guilty pleasure that kind of is aware of its stupidity at times and goes along with it. And if we're going to rank the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, I'm going to give the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle an 8 out of 10. Alright, here we go guys. That wraps up my review for the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys saw of this film, for those who did grow up with the show. Whether you're among the many who hate it, whether you're also among one of the few that like it. Tell me down in the comments down below. And until then, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.